and welcome to How Do I Know You with your host, Mark. Damn it. Wow, I haven't messed up in a while in the intro. Anyways, not going to start over. Mark, Dwayne, and White Savior Jason. The philosophical pimps.
Yeah, I was waiting for that part.
Yeah. I'm liking that. That's by an actual fan, that like, someone that actually is on our Patreon, that likes us enough to be on a Patreon. And you know what? We honor her by us calling us philosophical pimps.
as I'm doing as Bullwinkle, thank you. Yeah. Like, who the fuck's Bullwinkle? Now I'm like, oh shit.
Oh, showing your age, man. Showing your age. But today, let's start it out. Okay, vote right now. Start out with DaBaby or start out with Simone? Is it Simone?
Yeah.
Okay, Simone. Which one? Which one do you guys want?
I'd say DaBaby.
DaBaby?
Yeah.
All right, so I guess DaBaby made some comments, blew up to a whole thing really quick, and for the longest time, I was not the longest time because it happened really quick. Yeah. Anyways, for this whole day, I was trying to find like what he actually said, but I couldn't find it. But Dwayne, you have it.
Yeah,
let's
so
play
I'm gonna
it for
play the audio
to get the context going.
You didn't show up today with HIV, AIDS, any of them deadly sexually transmitted diseases that'll make you die in 2-3 weeks. Put a cell phone light in the air. Lady, if you like water, put a cell phone light in the air. Fellas,
lights up.
Fellas, if you ain't sucking in the parking lot, put your cell phone lights in the air.
Let's be real about this.
Yeah, keep it real.
Some of y'all suspect as a motherfucker. Let's be real.
Well, at least somebody got fed up and...
Shut up.
You're not part of this podcast.
We got fed up.
So Dwayne just played that for me like right before we started this podcast, and when he played that for me, okay, knowing the context of like the whole LGBTQ community is like all up in arms, everyone's upset and all that shit. After I heard what you played, I didn't get that. I was just like, he didn't say like faggot, he didn't say gay people, he didn't do that, he didn't mention any of that. Where do you think they got the link like, oh, he's talking about our community?
Isn't that just how everything now in the world, I feel like, is? If you say something, everyone takes offense to it if it's offensive to them in any way. When I was younger, we were allowed to joke and we were allowed to say stuff like that. Like, I used to say to my friends all the time, like, dude, suck a dick.
Yeah.
Like, every day when I see him, like, hey, suck a dick. And there's so many great movies that have lines like that in it. Sure. So I feel like a lot of people now just take offense to anything. And I feel like it was magnified on him because of what was going on already with the whole candy stuff, that he was already in light.
Oh, right, the candy
so,
stuff, yeah.
And he was already had like a little target on his back on that. And this just made that target a lot bigger.
True. What about you doing?
What was the original question?
So what was the link between LGBT community getting heated over this?
I didn't see a link either. I didn't see it. I didn't hear it come off that way. But also I kind of feel like it's the whole thing where with their community, they have these issues that they have either been chastised on or people have brought up as like, so gay people only get AIDS and all this other stuff. So I understand if it like hits close to home, but in the way he said it, I just didn't hear like that whole, like he was saying, like you said, he didn't say like if you're gay and you had AIDS and blah, like he didn't say anything like that. But also this kind of comes down to one of those things, what do you call them, colloquialisms or whatever the fuck, where it's like how certain cultures say shit, it'll come off different to another culture, right? So him, to me, everything that he talked about in that like statement just meant if people had to do like suck a shit to get ahead, right, and you didn't, put your hands in the air. Yeah, like the whole
sucking dick in a parking lot. It's basically saying like sleep your way to the top.
Right. If you didn't have to fucking, but see, those are fucking like sayings for that shit. Like if you didn't have to fucking, because I say this shit at work, right? I'm like, fucking people are all like, oh, this dude's sucking dick right now. Like, and not literally meaning he's sucking dick, but I'm like, yo, he's kissing ass.
One time it was literal.
One time. One
time it was crazy.
He's sucking. I need the money.
He's scared to get that raise.
Damn it. So that's to happen? Yeah. But it's like, those are things that are said. So to me, it just doesn't come off that way. However, I can see if like people will take it that way from that community. But what I don't understand is people who aren't from that community jumping out and saying that he's homophobic or saying that he should be canceled because of Like, I don't get that.
In the video, did he say, like, fellas, if you're sucking dick in the parking lot? Or did he just say...
He said fellas.
He said fellas.
Okay.
But there was no... I don't... Like how I felt like it was just like, hey, I'm just talking shit. I'm just going to say this because this is how I am.
Yeah.
So it didn't feel like it... To me, obviously, it didn't feel like it was an attack on anyone.
Yeah, not to me either. But... going to a little controversial territory. Is the LGBTQ community pretty sensitive?
Yes. And for people who are like, oh my God, and they're about to start, they're fucking already typing.
Yeah.
We've said this on previous episodes, right? Mm-hmm. And we're not saying it as like, oh, they're the only sensitive people out here today and they make things so much harder. However, I feel like their sensitivity is always met by a lot of anger and like they get shit fucking straightened immediately.
Right. Like no one can make a mistake.
No. Like or even an attempt at humor with them.
Yeah.
Which I don't like because, and I'll continue to bring this up, when it comes to, I've seen YouTubers who are homosexual, I've seen comedians who are homosexual, they can make jokes about black people, about poor people, about everything else. Nothing happens to them. Yep. There's no cancellation. There's no.
It's fun. I mean, sometimes it's funny,
right?
You know, when
right.
you say it,
and
so
but also
everyone gets the joke.
Yeah, it's an attempt at humor.
Yeah,
so you know it, right? Mm-hmm. But I just don't like how I don't like the fucking the double dutch they can do, where it's like, oh, 1 minute it's like, oh no, this is so offensive to us. How could you? Oh my God, you're homophobic and everything. But then when they say something, it's like, guys, relax. Right. It wasn't even like that. And we were talking about before we got on the air, like the Lil Nas X thing, right? Mm-hmm. Lil Nas X caught a lot of heat, not even for being gay with his like album rollout that he's trying to do, right? It was because there was a lot of messaging and people felt like, even he said, you know, this was his plan. But there was a lot of satanic messaging and things like that regarding his rollout. I remember the shoes had 666 on the shoe.
Wasn't there blood in it?
Yeah,
there was actual blood.
Right. And however, when that came out, to me, I felt like this is a fair criticism. Because obviously people have never been into the devil shit. People who are into it, fine, cool. But for the people who that's always been something that's been like a big no-no in society, right? Yeah. So clearly you're gonna get pushback from this, right? I thought it was very weird that the LGBT community stepped up for him and was like, no, this is art, this is artistic, this is his expression, this is how he wants to do things and everything like that. And which made me go, okay, so are you doing it because you feel like this is art, or are you doing it because he is homosexual and you feel like he's an ally? You guys have to protect him.
Right. So if he was straight, would he get the same protection?
Exactly.
Would he get the,
because we've seen it, you know, and there's been rumors about it, but you look at someone like a Jay-Z or whatever, there's been rumors for years that he's a part of Illuminati and Masonry and things like that. And literally, he has to remove himself so far from that. Right? And he's never done anything wrong publicly, at least that we know of, right? But he could be a part of that.
Yeah, probably.
Who knows, right? But he has to remove himself because instantly people are like, oh, no, I don't fuck with that. I don't fuck with that. Fuck your album. I'm not listening to that shit.
Yeah.
But I find it crazy, 2021, this kid came full bore. Like, I'm going straight out with this. Even, I think, his SNL performance had he had like a whole suit with devil horns and everything like that. No pushback. And again, it has nothing to do with him being gay. It has everything to do with like this messaging. If we're talking about like what kids and like watch and how they're influenced by, you don't think this is gonna make a kid be like, oh, let me kind of step into that realm or
right, the occult or whatever.
Yeah. So to me, this DaBaby shit is a complete overreaction.
Yeah. Just because he didn't even say the word, the big F word, you know, that I said earlier in this episode.
I would not say.
But now I'm censoring myself. I get away with it. Me and Jason get away with it.
I don't say that word.
But we can get away with it if we wanted to.
We're like,
we know how Dwayne gets shit on this show.
Can't get away with shit.
Yeah. But he wants to. There's a thing. So go after him for that because he wants to.
It was him.
Yeah. Ignore what I said earlier. But it's a car. It's just that. It's just like anyone could suck dick. You could be straight and suck dick. I think that's like a thing because right now the whole labels and shit like that. If you do that,
right.
Don't give me that look. All right.
No, I'm listening.
And,
no. He's like listening. He's like,
yeah, I know. I was friends with that guy. Yeah, all that shit, and then the part that I really heard when he was talking, the whole like, if your pussies are like what was it, like water?
Like water.
I was like, yeah, that's nice. And I forget the rest. It's nice. You ever get like a wet ass pussy? It's just really
it's like water.
Fucking, yeah, it's like water. It's that whap. I still say it wrong just because I'm doing. But no, then the way some of the responses, people are just like unfollowing, people are doing this. Like again, we see it as like there isn't really anything homophobic about it. But then Elton John came out with like a statement. I don't know if this was actually him. This is just his Twitter. But like the main thing about his thing, which I found pretty cool about the whole thing, which he was just like, HIV and misinformation, homophobia have no place in the music industry. We must break down the stigma around HIV and not spread it. As musicians, it's our job to bring people together, which I found cool because he, in no way, in that little part at least, he didn't go like, fuck DaBaby and DaBaby, blah, blah, blah. He was just like, no, let's use this moment to educate.
Well, you also got to remember Elton John did this when I was younger too, with Eminem, where they had this whole thing that went out because Eminem was getting flack from, I think, the LGBT community about it too. So I feel like Elton John is always a great warrior and going in, especially with the HIV and like the AIDS and all that. I don't know if you guys remember Ryan White, the first kid who had HIV, like was a first like poster kid in the 80s, because normally it was like all these prisoners and all these gay people only had it, and then all of a sudden it was like this white kid, and then everybody was like, oh my goodness, and
guessing like a straight
one. Well, yeah, it was like, oh my, he got from blood transfusion,
right.
So it was like, oh, and Elton John was in on that too, and so he's always been a proponent for this, for that cause, which I feel is great because I have lost a friend with AIDS. So I'm always, when people are like in the AIDS community are always like, hey, blah blah, I'm always there like, okay, I understand what DaBaby said. I just feel like how you were saying, the double standards we have. I can say something, and if you don't like it, you can try to censor me, you can say whatever, but if you say something, there's an excuse. It's like, oh well, blah blah blah, and this is the problem right now we have in the world. It's the double standards and no one going, hey, you know what? True. And what you read about, I think you were reading about DaBaby, how he apologized earlier about the HIV stuff. Totally awesome. But that's where the thing, we can't make mistakes anymore, I feel. It's like you make a mistake, well, guess what? 5 seconds later, here you are, your mistakes are unfolded for the world to see.
Not even a mistake. It was like
his opinion.
His opinion. But then the way it got interpreted, it took to like, oh, he must be homophobic because he's talking about this. It's like, if you get interpreted the wrong way.
And so that's where I feel like right now as a society, we just need to all like chill out a little bit, relax, take a deep breath, and be like, all right, instead of just going straight after for the kill shot, like let's do what we used to do back in my day. It was like find a solution to the problem. Let's educate. Let's help out DaBaby and like, hey, do you need, like how Elton John kind of did with Eminem? Like, let me go out there and sing a song with you, and then have our conversations backstage in private, and we can get together on this. Yeah, that's my opinion for what it's worth.
And that's why I like what Elton John did, because he took this moment instead of going like what the majority is doing, like, oh, fuck DaBaby, oh, he's homophobic, oh, I'm gonna unfollow him, blah blah blah. It's like, okay, let me use this attention that's going on it, and let's educate people,
right?
Because he's all about like, yeah, fuck this information. He's misinformed. Let's educate him. He can now be our ally in the future when it comes to like when he somehow mentions this like in the future for whatever reason.
I also don't like. There's an artist, I think her name is Dua Lipa. I know her and DaBaby have a song together, but I just hate that. Again, for people out there who are part of the LGBTQ community, this is like what we mean by it's like it's hard to always get behind this stuff, because it's like soon as something's said, even in a joking fashion, or there is no context when it comes to like if it's mentioning gay people or not, people just instantly just start to point the finger and say, oh no, I'm not homophobic, let me distance myself. But she went out and said like, oh, she doesn't, is like she said like this isn't the person that she met or she recorded a song with and everything like that, and to me totally like threw him under the bus and was like, hey, gotta save myself, like you whatever. And it always makes it hard, because for people who create any type of entertainment or just anything that's art, right, what's the line between having your artistic voice like fucking, you know, silenced.
Yeah.
Right? Because now it's gonna get to a point where if you're DaBaby, it's like if this does affect you, it's like, okay, he writes and he makes music. So what is he gonna be able to say when he raps now? You know what I mean? Like, because now at first he probably thinks like, oh, the shit I say isn't homophobic, and now like he has to be like, fuck, can't say that now because that's gonna come off. Someone's gonna think it means this or whatever. Mm-hmm. Or to me, it's just like so many things that I feel like because we've gone so to that extreme where like everything's under this microscope and everything's racist, everything's gay, everything's homophobic, everything's whatever.
Everything's a phobia.
Right. That it makes it just kind of now it makes it hard to do anything without being, I guess, being reprimanded.
Well, that's kind of like all the comedians now are like, why are we even going to go back out and do comedy? Like, we're afraid to do anything because if we say something that someone's offended by, they get their army of people behind them, and then we're now...
Right, and just because they're louder, they're right.
Exactly.
That's how the internet works.
Because my thing is, how far is it going to go? How far is it going to go between, like, once... Because everything is going to pass, so once the LGBTQ community doesn't have the ball anymore, it's going to go to someone else. And then how far are they going to take it? And then it's going to go to someone else. And then it's going to be eventually, like, everything's just going to be, like, really boring, and you can't... It's going to have no seasoning, and shit's going to just be like, oh... This is what entertainment is.
It's going to be like Demolition Man, like, hey, we can't have sex anymore here because it's gross. Here's wear the stupid head thing, and I'm not looking forward to that.
Man, 80s Sandra Bullock.
That was early 90s. Come on.
It wasn't like late 80s?
No, early, like 91.
Well, okay. I still would have. She was nice.
For record, Dwayne would have. For the record.
Sandra Bullock.
She's like, oh, what?
Let me get my agent to contact me.
And then she'll listen to everything. Oh, nope, never mind. Sorry.
So, nope. Sandra Bullock's like...
we fucked one time, but he's not the man he was when I fucked him. Like,
all these homophobic comments.
Yeah.
I don't like it. He's like 60-something years old. That's how...
No, I think she's probably... No, I think maybe early 50s. She's not that much older than me.
But
that's the sad part.
Keep talking.
As I
we gotta look it up
as I get older.
No, but what you guys were talking about a little like just right now. Eventually, the
57.
She's 57.
Almost.
She still is.
Wow,
especially for a white lady.
That's what I'm saying.
Dang.
It's called the money.
Because you know white people, they age back.
No, if you have money, you don't. Obviously.
Yeah. Jason's like 20 years old.
Yeah.
Look at him.
I always say I'm old. They use this gimmick.
Yeah. But no, the LGBTQ community, is Q still part of it? Are they still okay? So eventually they're gonna cross over to if they're already not in the mainstream, you know, by whatever definition it is, they're gonna cross over to the point where now they're no longer there's no like oppression of it, or like it's not a stigma anymore. It's just a whatever thing. Oh, you're gay, whatever. Right. It doesn't matter. It's like it's just a thing. Eventually they're going to become that, like you said, and then now they're going to be the ones like, oh, when they say something, they're getting canceled. It don't matter. The whole like LGBTQ defense of like, but I'm gay and I could do this, whatever. It's like, nope. It's like wrong is wrong, and that's all it is. So I just hope they're ready for it, like everyone else. Like,
I don't know, man. We're crossing over into this weird like fake woke fucking territory now, where everyone is trying to be like some shit that. Sadly, like we're not.
That they really aren't.
Yeah,
that they're really not. And that's where I laugh how hypocritical it is. It's like, you've done this, but go back on your stuff. Look at all the stuff you've done.
That's why I just like the idea of just everyone just
chill out,
shut the fuck up.
Well, that's what I told. That's what my thing is just treat everyone how you want to be treated. Regardless, it's like, oh hey, you're gay. Well, congratulations, like.
Because
or just be like, I don't care.
Because
like, okay,
who cares? If you guys remember, there was like that year where like for some reason like all these celebrity like news were getting leaked or whatever, and then we had the year of like everyone's like Twitter account from like before they were famous was getting leaked and shit. I feel like a couple years is gonna be like the fake woke leaks, and they're gonna see like text messages where people are like super advocates for this, and they're like, "Fuck gay people," or like you're gonna see like crazy shit, and then people are gonna be like, "Oh my god!" And I'm like, this was always it, though. This was like,
but even with that, like the whole like if they were back then, they were like, "Fuck gay people," but now they're for it.
Right.
It's just like people grow and change.
Right.
And that's the thing people don't fucking even want to consider.
And that's fine, but the thing is, like you said, no one wants to consider that change part anymore. People just want to like these celebrities.
You did this in 2003. You were 4 years old. Oh,
that's it. You're done.
Like, no, I was like saying, oh man, I'm canceled.